Hi there fellow hobbyists, my name is Mark, family man and father of 3. I'm going to be recording some short videos going through some suggestions on how to maximise your hobby time. As before, I've broken these videos down into sections to help visualise certain elements and parts. The second video I'm going to be going over is guides. Now, when I first got into painting, the internet really wasn't around, and yes, that does make me old. So guides and talking to fellow hobbyists was how I learned. I'm going to spend a few minutes now just discussing how I believe these can be used alongside watching videos, reading blogs and talking with fellow hobbyists just as before. So, when painting, I tend to catch up on shows and movies. This gives me that extra little time to catch up on programs I wouldn't normally be able to watch with a family. As such, I tend to use guides like the ones that I'm going to show you now to read to and refer to when I have a few moments away from the computer or painting itself. The first guide I'm going to talk to you about is how to paint Citadel miniatures produced by Games Workshop. There's some nifty little tricks with regards to this one. It did come with a DVD which you could obviously watch later on. And it does have this little nifty idea where you can fold the section out here as such, and then it can stand upright on your desk or wherever you are painting, and a little flip chart sort of like idea. I'm just going to skim through certain sections of the book which I find very useful and constantly refer to with regard to this guide. The first, as always with most guides, is a little sort of like equipment section, if you like, on what tools and what the purpose is for them. As with most Games Workshop sort of like products, they tend to obviously be directed more towards Games Workshop products themselves, so it's an opportunity to obviously resell their own sort of like items if so. Another nifty section earlier on in the guide is some tips on some tips on a few techniques such as dry brushing, washing and things like that. Useful when you're a beginner and you're not too sure about all these techniques and what they're used for. You've got obviously some visual guides. It shows you some pictures and step by step, and also kind of like links it with not only the colors but also the brushes, so it gives you really sort of like in-depth idea as to what's going on. Okay. And then the section that I always used to find quite useful, but only really useful if you're collecting that particular army, is some sections then later on then delved into certain obviously aspects of their miniatures. Obviously in this instance it's gene stealers, and then it just gives you a step-by-step process with lots of sort of like visual aids and pictures showing you not only what sort of like paints to use and some indications as well as to brush, and the step-by-step guide. So if you're painting, say for example, a miniature for the very first time and you're a bit unsure of yourself and you're collecting this particular miniature here for example, then you could have this little guide here and it will take you through the steps and help you along the way, and you could have this alongside you when painting a miniature. Useful for when you're doing it for the first few times, and then obviously you could forego this section of the guide and then just use it as a reference if that helps. Right, another useful guide which links to the paints that I discussed in a previous video was Foundry Miniatures Painting and Modelling Guide. As discussed previously with regards to the paints, I do tend to use the Foundry paints because it helps speed my painting up considerably. As the other guide, it does go through some useful tips for beginners. It talks to you about obviously seating, how to arrange your paints. It gives you some suggestions on which brushes, but unlike the Games Workshop guide, it obviously isn't trying to hard sell you their products. It offers a range of suggestions as to what sort of materials you might want to use. Obviously it is hard selling their paints because it's related to their paint scheme, if you like. It also then goes through the paint scheme which I talked about in the previous video, where you've got the 3 sets of paints, and you've got again like lots of nice visual cues and pictures showing the step-by-step guide as to how to paint different aspects of your miniature. What I do like this is it does gradually progress through. So at the beginning it's quite simple with regards setting your model up, undercoating or base coating, and then applying one layer of paint. So if you're just getting into painting, or it's the first time that you've obviously experimented with this type of hobby and you're not too sure what to do, this guide will guide you through the first step. And then when you're sort of like happy with that and you painted a few miniatures and you think, you know what, I want to try and sort of like delve into it a bit more and add a bit more detail, it kind of progressively then moves on to the next steps, which goes all the way on to the three paint tier system, if you like, here, using the same sort of miniatures. But the beauty of it is that you can use the same miniature that you used in the first step. So with the one pot of paint, you can then just apply the second layer, so progress to that level, and then if you want, progress to the third level, which is the third stage, and add in that extra level of detail there. So overall, both guides have their pros and their cons. One isn't any better or any worse than the other. I do have the both, and they obviously both gave me loads of tips and helps and discussion points with fellow hobbyists. It also reinforced some of the ideas that I then got from watching YouTube videos or reading blogs, and just looking at various aspects. So like I said, it was a useful tool. So I hope you have enjoyed watching this video and it has been of some use to you. As always, these are only my experiences over the years, and the guides may take a long time to get started, but I've found in the long run they've given me some helpful advice to improve the quality of my painting. I would love to hear from you and what you think, and as always, offer some suggestions for future videos if you believe so. So, hope to see you all soon. Take care. Thank you.